Take the Leap is the podcast where we get real about the roller coaster that is entrepreneurship and life. Sure, some folks make running a business look like a walk in the park, but let's be honest, it's more like a wild ride through a theme park with a lot of unexpected twists and turns.
Join us, your co-hosts, Ashlyn
and Tori,
as we spill the beans on our own real-life experiences and shine a spotlight on some amazing guests. From the highs of success stories to the lows of epic failures. And hey, we'll even throw in some cringe-worthy, laugh-out-loud, embarrassing moments for good measure.
So buckle up and tune in every Tuesday and Thursday for a dose of raw, unfiltered truth about what it's really like to chase your dreams and build a business.
Whether you're a seasoned entrepreneur or just dipping your toes into the startup world, we've got something for everyone. Even if it's just to make you think, wow, I'm glad I didn't do what they did.
All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Take the Leap. We are so excited to chat with our guest this week, Megan Eckman. Megan has always been drawn to impossible challenges, including starting a business while earning degrees in creative writing and art. After that, she tackled growing an illustration business in San Jose, California, illustrating for Google. Side note, I did not know that, so that's fun. I'm going to ask you about that for sure. Building an embroidery kit empire that stocked 200 shops around the country, kept hundreds entertained with monthly subscriptions, and helped thousands get their crafting fix during the pandemic. Rebranding the embroidery kit business for a 150% increase in sales, and starting a UX business to help small businesses redesign their websites, with most clients enjoying a 30% increase in sales. And now she's helping businesses get their spark back with their customer by co-design authentic and engaging brand experiences at her new company, FatCap. Welcome to the podcast, Megan. We're so excited to have you.
Yeah, I'm
and
excited
for our
to be
listeners, yes, and for our listeners, because I really like to talk about this whenever I can. I know Megan from the infamous Feral Book Club, and we have the best time reading absolutely feral books and talking about it and having the best time ever. So really excited to have another book club member on the podcast. We've had a couple now, and welcome. Excited to talk about your journey.
Yeah. In preparing for this, I realized it's been a wild one.
And we're going to talk all about it. So basically the first question we ask all of our guests is the same one every time, is what is your take the leap story? I guess what actually inspired you to take the leap and start your own business? And I know you have quite a bit of a journey, and there's been a lot of pivots and things that have changed over the years. So feel free to just talk about that whole journey with us.
Yeah. So I always feel like I have to go back so far. And it is because when I decided to get dual degrees, artsy-fartsy degrees in creative writing and drawing, my parents were like, fine, but you have to start a business before you graduate to prove that you can do something with this degree. So it took me 4.5 years, and the last half of the 4.5 years was me figuring out how to file all the paperwork, what business I was going to run. And there were no classes on it. I actually ended up teaching some of my professors how to file taxes, how to start a blog. Yes. So I was running an art print business and honestly taking quite a bit of flack from it from classmates. It's seen as selling out. But I knew that it was the only way to make money. So I met the deadline. So I launched what was called Studio MME, my initials. So Studio Me. That was 2009. So then my, at the time, boyfriend got into grad school. And so we moved to San Jose. And I was like, hell yes, I'm coming. Like, don't leave me in North Dakota. And so while working for some other people there, I kept that business going. So I did a little bit of VA work for some well-known business coaches for a few years and kept my art business going. And it was about that time that I was vending at shows, and I was asked by somebody who worked at Google if I could come. They had a new app launching, which has since gone away. And they were holding their launch party, and they needed these hand-drawn maps. So, of course, you just say yes. And I went to Google, and they were like, bring your supplies. And I was like, okay. I normally don't do that. So I brought all my supplies in my little bag and went to Google, and they left me alone in a conference room and said, you have 30 minutes. Show us what you would do, and we'll come back and look at it. I spent most of the 30 minutes having a panic attack. It ended up being fine. They liked it. They were also nice enough, and they doubled what I was asking for, because they're like, you're not charging enough. We'll pay you more. It was hell. Like, that next week was hell. And I have never drank so much as I did every night, crying myself to sleep from that project. So it's just a nice little, like, pip on your resume, but you're like, God, I'm never doing that again. And it was about that time that I burnt out. So I burnt out in the illustration business. The Bay Area is very expensive. And most of the money at that time was coming from my business, and it just wasn't enough. And anybody who's been there, where you are the sole one bringing in the money, and if you don't bring in enough, what are you going to do next? It's really stressful. So one night, sounds like I cry a lot. I cried a lot because it was 3 years. But one night I was like, we're just going to make art for me. And I don't want it to be the pen and ink illustrations that I normally do. So I rummaged around, and I found some canvas, because I had taken some painting classes, and some thread. And I was like, I'm going to turn one of my illustrations into something with like textile, like an embroidery. And so I did it, and it was really cool. It was very different, because it was taking line art and making it an embroidery. And I posted it to Facebook, and all of my customers went, oh my God, I want to make this. Thankfully, they didn't say I want to buy this, because I knew they couldn't afford it, and I liked my hands. I wasn't going to go into that business. So I said, like, basically, like, hold my beer, like, give me a week, and I will figure out how to get you something that you can do this with. And this was before there were really any embroidery kits on the market. So this was me figuring out, how do we make iron-on transfers? What can we put through the printer? What can we just print out ourselves? Where are we even going to get the fabric? Where are we going to get the hoops? And so it took a week. They sold. I made a lot of money. I started vending at shows, doing both. Half the booth was illustration, half the booth was embroidery. Embroidery sold out every single time. And so I was just like, let's just go with easy. Like, having a whole identity crisis about what is art, what is fine art, what is an artist. It was like, let's just go with easy. Ditched all the illustration business, went all in with the embroidery, ran that we started that like 2014, ran that until 2019, when I was, again, burnt out, so done. I don't actually like to sew. It's like, the secret is I don't like to do it. I would pay other people to do it. Just so I could have like Instagram pictures, because I just don't like it. And I don't like it as much as my customers did. For my customers, it was their anxiety relief. It was, it was so different. So we were burnt out, and I told my husband, like, I don't think I want to do this anymore. Again, I had hired him at this point. So this was, again, the sole income. And he's like, well, we don't have anything else. Let's look at rebranding it, because the brand isn't that strong. So we took a course on it and we loved the process. We geeked out so much. We changed it all over. So we turned into Poplush embroidery and we got official. We trademarked this. We got it all set up. We actually figured out who our customer was. And it was roller derby librarians. These women were fun, vibrant, into comics. And so we packaged everything for them. And that's how we then launched with 150% year-on-year increase. And I was like, I still don't like this. I still don't want to do this. This isn't what I want to do with my life. I'm still burnt out. And my husband's like, okay, let's do something else. And then the pandemic hit. And we're like, fuck. Now we have, like, no one has a job, right? Like, no one's hiring at this point. All of our wholesale shops closed because nobody could do in-person stuff. So at that point, we had like 200 wholesale shops. All of them closed up. So there's half your income right there. Yeah. And our Etsy blew up. It blew up so, like, the day after lockdown, I had stupidly put everything to unlimited because no one ever bought enough on Etsy.
Oh no.
I put it on unlimited, all of the stuff. I woke up one morning and it had been featured on their front page in their newsletter and it's like, do you need a craft for lockdown? And it was like 300 orders. And it was like, ah! Also, all of our supply chains have collapsed at this point. And I was just like, God damn it. There's so much money in my account right now. And I have nothing for these people. So I had to message every single one and be like, I am working on it. Give me a week. We know that some of these places are working on a way to get employees in. Give me time. I promise you'll get it. And everybody was nice. Everybody was like, I don't care when I get it. I just
want it right now.
I just want it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't give me my money back. I've got hope. And so we had to rebuild a worldwide supply chain in a week.
Oh my god.
Thankfully, I know. So thankfully, like, the one hiccup is like, if you've ever used Spoonflower, they're kind of the only one who does what they do, which is print designs on fabric. So that was the one we could not find a workaround for, except to get like the old iron-ons. So it was like, you know, whatever way you want it, we can get it to you, but like give us a little bit more time for Spoonflower. Mm-hmm. Thankfully, they were printing masks, and that was how they were able to stay open. It was that they turned half of their factory into a mask making factory for the fabric masks. And so it was a way for them. I mean, it was sneaky, but also, you know, kind. It was a way for them to keep their employees going and to keep profits coming in. So we had double Christmas months for like March, April, May, June. And we were working 14-hour days to pack all the orders. And I was like, I'm so done. At this point, I've run the marathon. I'm like 100 yards from the end. I've tripped, fallen, and my husband is like pulling me face down across the finish line. I'm like, I don't do this anymore. I don't even like this. And now there's just no room. Again, no way to get another job at this point because the market is still not ready. So we launched subscription kits, like monthly subscription clubs. That's amazing. We've got like 3 of those running. Now we've got some steady. We can like, people didn't ask for much for that. They literally, we have all the supplies. I don't even want thread. Just give me the fabric. I'm good to go. Because most people, it's kind of like when you knit and you have a whole closet that you don't want people to know about all of your yarn. So we had that going. And eventually my husband is like, hey, I'm going to start applying for jobs. But here's all my duties. keep it running. It's a full-time job. So it took him 6 months, and he finally got a job. And it was really hard. In the midst of it, he had gotten a certificate in UX. And he was like, this is everything we did to make our business as good as it was. Mm-hmm. The reason why our kits were so good And it has taken me a really long time to openly admit they were one of the best ones on the market ever. And it's because we iterated and we came at it from, if I'm an absolute beginner, how do I make this the easiest, most hand-holding kit possible? And that's what everybody liked about ours, was that it wasn't pretentious. The quality was really nice, but also like everything was so thought out. And so my husband's like, I think you should take the certificate. It just really systematizes everything that we've just done naturally. So I got the certificate, started applying for jobs, and I interviewed with some people who could be mentors. And they said, what do you love to do? And I said, I love getting to solve the big problems. I love getting to understand what makes the customer tick and like, what can we do to make the best solution possible? I love to world build with somebody. And the woman goes, great. So you won't get to do any of these in this field. How much do you like screaming into the void? Because you will just be told what to do and you can't go higher up the chain to fix the problem. I was like, I really don't like screaming into the void. I only work for myself. And she's like, I don't think you want to go into this field in this capacity. Maybe freelance. So I tried to freelance that for a while, helping people just fix their websites. But it became clear that there were steps before that that needed to get sorted in order to make the website work as well as it could. But nobody at the level I was playing at wanted to pay for that. They just want a website. We don't need to go into who my customer really is. We don't need to go into like what makes me tick or what makes them tick or what am I actually trying to offer these people? What emotions do I want them to feel? We don't have time, just make it pretty. So I spent all of last year kind of being like the penny donation bins at the mall where you used to put the penny in and it would go round and round the outside and it would go really slow and then slowly would like pick up speed. I spent all year being that penny, being like, what do I actually do? Is this a job? Does anyone do this? What would I call this? Who needs this? What can I offer? How do I talk to people about it? And in the end, what I landed on with this new iteration of business, and they realized that I had pivoted so many times, and yet at its core, the thing that I do best has always been at the center of it. I just hadn't realized it until now. So at its core, I am a world builder. So in creative writing, I was really good at making characters. I sucked ass at plot. But I could build the character. I could understand what made them tick. I could build the whole world. But I couldn't understand devious machinations. So I was like, it was basically a sitcom. Like sitcoms, they never evolve. It's always we're at the same point with some silly little things. And so with the UX, it was trying to world build. With embroidery kits, it was building this experience for people. And so what I do now, the way I decided to use it, is kind of this brand experience design. So I come in when companies have been going for a while or they're new and they've kind of grown apart from their customer and they don't understand fully what makes them tick and they don't fully understand the world that they are building for their customer. Because if you build it right, like I did with my embroidery kit business, like Liquid Death just did with its diaper, if you build it right, your weirdos will pay you a shit ton of money because they want to be in that group and exist in that world that you've made where you can rock like a leather diaper to a mosh pit. And they sold out of that thing, Liquid Death did. It was insane. I've seen Pit Viper put jeans. They covered a whole like pickup in denim. and they auctioned it off. And it's like, if you can build your world right around your customers, you can just give them such a fun, engaging experience with you that they just want more. And so that's
So
where I am now.
you were reminding me of, I have this email that I should forward to you that's sitting in my inbox. It's Cards Against Humanity. They sold a diamond potato. You see,
Yep.
as you're saying that, I'm like, this is
Right.
the thing.
And
But
they
that's
can
the
do
thing
it
that you
because they
come to
know.
expect, because they know their people are fucking quirky and silly like that. And trust me, if it wasn't as expensive as it was, I probably would have bought that stupid diamond potato. But I was like, I'll just keep the email because I don't need that. But I thought about it. I definitely thought about it.
Yeah. And those brands get to have so much fun. I mean, just think of like what the board meeting is like, right? And they're like, what are we going to give away?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
And obviously a lot of thought still has to go into it. It still has to align with the customer, but they built enough trust with their customer. They understand them enough, and they've like, everything's engineered to elicit the response that they want.
Mm-hmm.
That it's really not risky at all when they do it.
Yeah. Yeah. When it's such good buzz, when the stuff like that like comes out.
Yep. Taco
Yeah.
Bell is also really good for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're munchie meals or whatever it is. Like, you're like, that does totally sound like something that a stoner at 4 a.m. came up with. Like,
Yes.
because
Mhm.
nobody should ever eat that. And it makes sense that it's
No.
only available during that time frame.
Yep.
I just had Taco Bell the other night for dinner for the first time in like a long time. I was like, why don't I do this more often? Oh, I'm probably not the best for my stomach, but it's still great. It was still great. Well, so I love, there were so many things that you said that, like, I want to respond to.
I know, it was way
There's
too long.
But one of the things I love about your journey is that, like, you literally were just like, okay, I'm going to give this a try. And, oh, this isn't working for me. Okay, well, I'm going to evolve and do this instead. And I love that because I feel like so much of the time when it comes to entrepreneurship, I feel like at least how I was raised, there's this like very like fear-based like teachings around entrepreneurship of like, make sure you have all your ducks in a row, make sure you know what you want to do, make sure you get your degree first and like work in the field first and like get to know people and like, and then once you have all your ducks in a row, then you take that risk and then you do this. And then if it doesn't work, and I feel like nowadays too, like everybody's an entrepreneur, it feels like. And when they're posting online about it, it's like all this like really glamorous, like life is going so well. And like, I'm doing this because of X, Y, and Z and, whatever. But we're not seeing like the true nature of what entrepreneurship actually is and what it looks like. And I feel like for so many of us, especially if you're even just a little bit creative and even just a little bit neurodivergent, like that whole process is just like that. You try something and it either works or it doesn't. And then you have to decide, do I keep going and try something else? Do I go back to a regular job? Do I do this? And I love that part of your story where you're like, oh, okay, well, this isn't making me happy. So I'm not going to keep doing this, but I'm going to try something else. And I feel like hearing your whole journey from like start to finish, it totally makes sense that you're where you're at right now. Like the whole concept for your current brand totally makes sense from everything you've done up until this point. So I don't know. I love that part. So thank you for sharing that because yeah. Oh, sorry.
Oh, I was
Ashlyn,
going to say, it's like a distillation, right? Like, liquor doesn't come perfect the first time you run it through something. You've got to do it a few times before it's even anything that you want to drink. And so I feel like that kind of has been your process, was like, we started here and we've refined down to this point. But yeah, the next question that we tend to ask folks is like, what piece of advice would you give yourself knowing what you do now back to that person who started out as the journey of entrepreneurship?
Yeah. So obviously there's always so many that people have for this, but I spent the last year experimenting on something, and this is the advice. This was the one thing that would have shaved years off everything, which is to never stop making connections and being curious. Because when I was in the Bay, we had, my husband was in grad school, so we had friends through him because I lived in their tiny apartment and my office was in the kitchen. So I didn't have anyone except his grad school friends. And so we would go to all the openings. We would, I would vend at shows and I'd meet people there. And that's how I got the Google gig. And, by talking to everybody, I was able to meet people who worked at Disney, who worked at Pixar, who did all these amazing things. And then I was able to grow through that. I was able to learn about shows I should go to. I was able to I met Jenny Hart of Sublime Stitching at a conference, and I was fangirling her, and she was like, "Oh my God, you're Megan." And she's like, "Let's go get a drink." And then we ended up doing a business deal while I was like totally drunk. But when the pandemic hit, I went full hermit mode for like 4 years, and the business just got smaller and smaller and smaller. And it was like, when I said before I wanted out, the other thing was that after the pandemic, 2020 was great. 2021 was okay. 2022, we were at like half our revenue. The ship was sinking so fast, and we were the rats trying to get off of it. And a lot of that was because we'd stopped making any connections. We'd stopped making any friends. We'd stopped talking to anybody. And so we had nothing. We had no resources, nowhere to go. And so when I started figuring out the next business last year, I started reaching out and having 1 to 2 coffee dates a week with people, including all of you, just to try and figure out. Yeah, Ashlyn was one of the first.
I was one of the ones. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
And it was just, I go in with no expectations.
Yeah.
I go in not knowing what I will get. I don't even expect to get anything. But by being open, you get to build a Rolodex slowly. You learn what other people are doing, and so you can ask them questions. You can kind of learn and be like, oh, they're using this platform. That might be cool to try. You also just get sometimes just some funny stories. Like some of the coffee dates I went on were bonkers. And you're like, never doing that again. But I think it gets you all these different perspectives, and then you never know what will come. Like, we ended up making a book club and then making another club and teaming up together. And for me, I ended up, for last year, I was the Portland leader for the Freelancers Union. And, that was because I reached out and they said, do you want to do it? And I was like, okay, just saying yes. But I think a lot of us think that we network, but I don't think enough. And I think a lot of people go at it as it's all transactional instead of just meet somebody cool and just talk with them for 30 minutes. Yeah. And you don't know if they'll get back to you a year from now and be like, oh my God, there's this gig and I thought about you, or if nothing will. But I found that it's generally never nothing comes of it. There's always, if nothing else, a weird story to tell someone.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I got connected to you by Mary, and I had no idea about all the embroidery stuff. Like, this is the first time I'm hearing about it. It was because you were doing the things with the Freelancers Union, and Mary was like, you guys should just connect. And we did. And it was great. And now we'll do even more stuff together. But yeah, it was like zero expectations of like, you're just cool people who should talk. which is great. And I think that is invaluable as an entrepreneur, because you never know when things are going to happen. Like, I mean, it's very similar with Tori and I. Had no idea when we were solo Marcom folks at nonprofits that we would be doing this together.
I had no clue. If you had told me that we were going to do this in a few years, I'd be like, wow, really?
Wow. Yeah, right? Like,
do that? Yeah, I love that you're saying that too, because so I too, during COVID, I stopped networking. I stopped going to networking events. I stopped talking to old connections, like basically been a hermit. And then like having a kid and all that throughout that just really did not help my hermit tendencies. So and then I work exclusively from home. So I don't leave my house ever. And you all have been really encouraging me. I'm like, I really need to start networking again. My anxiety is like, but do you? But I definitely do. And so I love that, because I feel like I've had more opportunity and just more honestly fun networking with my friends and like people that I know, and like the book club. I swear, like more has come from that than any networking event I've ever been to. And I think that's the whole point of it. It's not networking to see what you can get from someone. You're just trying to build relationships. And when you build those relationships, and they're genuine relationships, they're not like you're fostering them because you're like, okay, when are they going to refer someone to me? You're just genuinely like the person. Then that's when the magic happens. And they're like-minded people, and they have, other businesses or people that they work with. That's when that happens. So I feel like, yeah, in the long run, or in the short term, like building relationships probably doesn't seem like it's going to help your bottom line, but I feel like it helps even more because you've taken the time, you get to know them, you have fun with them. They know you, they trust you on so many levels. You're going to be the first person they think of. So
there's also just so many opportunities that you don't know. I mean, the universe is so goddamn cheeky. Like, you don't know what. I can't tell you how many times that I've gotten on a phone and told somebody what I did, and they go, "It's funny, you should mention that." And I'm like, "It is, but tell me, what do you want to do?" Because it's always like, "I have this opportunity. I didn't know you did that." And you're like, "Yep, give it." I think too, another week with that, the other side of the coin that people don't do, and this is what I did a lot with the embroidery kit business, and I'm doing it more now with this business, is networking to understand your customer. Mm-hmm. So with my embroidery kit business, I did a lot of user interviews, and then just a lot of interviews for fun, like, what's the weirdest thing you've ever done? What's the superlative people would give you, and I would post that as content. But now with my audience, I actually, with no intent of selling to somebody, I will be like, I would really just love to sit down and learn about your business and like your problems, because it gives you this whole, you're building a character, right? And so you need to write what you know, and thus you have to meet these people to be like, oh, it seems like everybody's struggling with kind of the same thing, and these are the words that they use. I wonder if there's something that I could do to help with that problem. But we don't sit down with them a lot. We sit down, but we don't listen. And so if you go in with no expectations, you're just kind of be like, tell me more. I cannot. Curiosity is my number one. And so honestly, any job interests me. Like when it's like, I'm a plumber, I'm like, can I see inside your truck? Like, how many tools do you have? Or like, what, at the grocery store, the checkout person, my favorite is always to ask, like, what's the weirdest cart combo that you've seen today? Ooh. Because I have seen sadness go by, when it's just like, it's all the Hungry Man and then like cigarettes. And you're like, oh, buddy, that's a bad day. And I've seen a woman who just had a cart full of milk and butter. And it's like, I really want to know where she's going. And so I feel like if you can have that curiosity when you when you chat with people, they will drop weird little nuggets for you to be like, I never thought that certain like times of year affect certain businesses in ways that we don't anticipate, you know? And so by networking, you kind of learn those and you're better able to build a business around that.
That's a really good point. I feel like so often when you're in your own world and you're in your own business or you're marketing for someone else, it's like, it's so easy to like get into like a vacuum of like, this is what the business is like, this is what they do, and this is how we're going to move forward. But yeah, if you can like be curious, if you can be curious and like get to know your audience more on a more personal level and the challenges and struggles they deal with, that's going to impact you more than anything.
Yeah.
I feel like people don't care enough right now, or they're just too busy or whatever, that they don't really dive into that. I know we've had a lot of conversations about like working with clients who genuinely have no idea who their audience is, and they think that they can just move forward with any sort of marketing campaign without knowing that answer. It doesn't make any sense, but
Screaming into the void.
Screaming into the void for sure. Well, let's transition. I want to ask you, this is kind of the other basic question we ask all of our guests, and that is, what is your why? Why do you do what you do?
So I want people to find their weird people, basically. I feel like the world is so magical. And if I can help businesses make other people feel special and they can build their own little happy worlds, I think I can make the world a little bit of a better place by doing that. And it's not selfish. It sounds selfish. But it's like, I'd like to think that I can make the world a better place, but not by doing much. It's just by helping other people, like, just make a safe, exciting place for people to come in, to feel seen, to feel like acknowledged and they belong. And it's silly, I think, to me that you can do that just by like having the right voice and the right diamond potato, and like you can just do it. You can do it in a weird way, because I feel like so many people take things seriously, and I think the world is just too crazy, and I would just like to make the world a better place by making it more weird.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good answer. I love that. I love that so much.
So find your weirdos.
Find your weirdos.
Is that the tagline? Find your weirdos.
It should be, yeah.
I see. Megan's writing this down.
Yep.
I'm gonna put it on a sticky note.
That's my mantra.
I love that so much. Well, we're now going to transition into what we are calling the hot seat questions. As we go on, we're realizing they are not very hot, and they usually don't get answered very quickly either, but they're still fun. We're still going to call them the hot seat questions. So my first question in that is, what is the best and or worst advice you've received in your career?
Oh, yeah, that is hard. I'll have to go with recent. Honestly, some of the best. Some people are going to hate this. Ask a mediocre white man how much they would charge for what you're doing, because it'll save you so much time and effort, and you'll be like, God damn it, they doubled my prices. But ask maybe you have a friend, hopefully you know them, but just be like, here's what I'm going to do. How much would you charge if it was you? And I'm not saying you have to meet them, but I sat down with a white male business coach, and he at least said, like, how much do you want to charge? And then he said, if you he quadrupled the price for me and said, what if you charged that? How much more work would you do? And I said, I wouldn't do any more work because I'm already doing all the work. And he's like, well, we just made that easy for you. It's just like quadruple the price.
That is fucking brilliant. Ask a mediocre white man.
I've just figured out a new website idea.
Yep.
Sorry, connecting people.
Yes. You could just train AI, I bet too.
Yeah.
Probably.
'Cause
Yeah.
Like, how would a mediocre white man respond to this?
Yeah, pick some of their websites, you know, and be like,
It's
look
true.
at their pricing, get us, yeah. But you could farm it out. Yeah, that would be so good.
Just a blast of a survey. Be like, there's nothing in this for you. I just am curious. I'm doing research.
That is my other, yeah. I love making businesses. Worst advice. I do feel like it hasn't been given to me, but I know that there's like that sentiment out there. It's not that you should just do it, like do what you love, you'll figure it out. Because there are some conversations that I've had to have with clients where we have to have that come to Jesus that this isn't going to work. That what you want to do in a late capital economy, you know, late stage capitalism, and it just won't work. And I think that whole idea that if you love it, you should do it, and you will figure out a way to make it work, isn't true for everyone, because some people won't iterate enough or budge enough, and they're like, it has to be this way, and I'll just keep grinding, and I will make it work. I will get lucky, and it'll come to something. Where instead, you know, you mentioned like I iterate all the time. I do. It does take me a while. But at some point, you kind of have to go with easy and be like, there was no way that I was going to make what I wanted to make from my art print career. And by staying stuck there, I wasn't helping anybody. Mm-hmm. And also, again, when I realized I had hit the cap on my embroidery kit business, and the cap was $150,000, and the only way to get bigger was to buy a facility and employees, which then would still end up probably with us making this same take-home pay. You just have to throw in the towel. And I know that some people are like, you could have made it work, you know, you just didn't try hard enough. Like, no, we saw the writing on the wall soon enough that we're like, we're pivoting, and it doesn't mean, this took years, but it doesn't mean that we failed. It means that it was never going to work. So why keep trying?
Yeah. I'm really glad you said that, because as somebody who recently just like saw the writing on the wall financially with like keeping employees and like needing to do layoffs, I was just like, this is not what I came into business for. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like, it stopped being fun, and it's okay. And, you know, like, I mean, I had texted Tori and Victoria, like, and Mary immediately, and I was like, oh my God, this is what I'm doing. And, you know, they helped me like be relieved, like, that is not a failure. But it was hard. Like, it was really hard, but it also would have been really hard. Like, I was just like, the options are sink the entire ship or throw some heavy shit out and patch the hole. Like, you know, like, there's just...
You now get to say you have tried that. And that's not what everybody can say. You were willing to pivot. You were willing to iterate and say, this didn't work. We got to cut the losses. And that's what I've had to learn. It doesn't mean that it failed, because it might have never worked at that point. It doesn't mean you can't do it again later, but you will be at a different point when you do it again later. But yes, it is very hard to not.
There's lots of learnings in the process.
And I feel like too, like that's such an older way of doing business and like entrepreneurship is like sticking to your guns and figuring out how to make it work. And but I think in today's day and age, the like best skill set you can have as an entrepreneur is learning how to pivot and evolve, and also learning how to recognize when it's time so that you're not in that holding pattern and it's not bringing you down.
Yeah,
Yep.
So for
absolutely.
sure. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. That's great.
I have our next hot seat question. So, you help your clients with their branding challenges. Do you find that more folks struggle with the verbal expressions of their brands, so the words, the tone, all of that, or the visual expressions of their brands, the just make it look pretty?
It's actually neither of those.
Oh,
It's the deeper. It is the assignment that I literally have to sit on the phone with my customer to do because they don't want to do it. It is the what is our brand story? So, what are our values and our mission? What is the journey that we are helping our customer? So, your customer's on the journey. You are the like old lady in the woods who like comes to help them. And by giving them something, like I've got a map and some magical things. And you need to know where they want to get to. And so most people don't think about the journey that the customer's on. And also, we like to just think about, if you buy my thing, here are the features, which, goodness, the crafting industry will tell you all about the features, and artists too. Like, I made it with this paint. Nobody gives a shit. The benefits, and that's like, you're going to lose 10 pounds. You're going to, your car will never be cleaner. But actually, the most important thing is the psychological changes that you are helping your customer along with on that journey. And so at the end, are you helping them step into a new group? Are you helping them step into new identity? Do they get to say, I'm a charitable person now? Or do they get to say, obviously, like, we're always bombarded with weight loss stuff. And it's like, there's a moral issue. Yay, America. But also, like, you get to say, like, I'm an athlete. I am a strong person now. I can do this. It's so that's actually the hardest part is like, what does your company actually want to help your customer do? And once we know, are you the preacher? Are you the best friend? Are you a parent? Like, what is your company to your customer? Yeah. Once you know that, then you know the direction that your language needs to go, because we have all of our story, we have our adjectives that describe us, we know ABC, all the touch points that are going to come, and we know what our customer is going to feel at each one when they come in and what we want them to feel when they go out. So when they get our welcome email, what are they feeling? Or like when they get to your landing page, what are they feeling inside? And what do we need to get them to feel at the end to click the buy button? You know, and then that next touch point when they're like, oh shit, I signed up for mountain bike lessons and I had a panic attack after I hit pay, you know, like, and so knowing that, the next message was like, you got this, you've got weeks, it's okay. Here's some videos of lessons for you to do, you know, but like, here are all these other testimonials of people who were scared just like you. They knew what my response is going to be, and they were like, we got you. Here's your tea. And so I think once you know that, everything else gets easier. But it's the hardest thing you will ever do. And nobody wants to sit with it because all the other stuff is 10 times more fun. And Absolutely. I'm the mom who has to be like, no, we have to finish the homework. Then we can go play. And they will squirrel out of it every single time. I'm like, I know this sucks. I know it sucks. And We will have to do this every 6 months to a year. But this is the only way to get better.
It is, and it's such an important step, and it's the clients I work with, a lot of them haven't really taken that step at all. And so we're trying to backfill that while working on their existing campaign. And depending on the type of client, some of them have the capacity to do that, some of them don't. And it's a mess.
Yeah, I mean, basically, if they don't do it, you are painting a ramshackle house. It is still going to fall apart. It'll look nice.
Yep.
But if anybody walks into it, I mean, there's mold everywhere and an infestation of rats. And it will only last for so long. But yeah, I would say like 90% of companies haven't done it.
No.
Because it's inner work. It's therapy. It's like most of us haven't done therapy enough.
Yeah.
Why would I do that when I could go just like, hit my midlife crisis and buy a Mazda Miata instead? Like, why do I
Well, kind of like on the same note of branding in general, I wanted to bring this up just because I thought it was really fun. So I took a look at your new website since you published that, and I was looking through all your branding, and I know you've been doing some stuff there, and I love your branding. Like, I'm kind of obsessed. It's every marketer's dream, and I love your use of I think it says couples counselings for brands that have lost their spark, and throughout like your entire brand you talk about your customers as if it's like a relationship and like how you'd fix it, and it's really unique and fun. So I wanted to bring it up and ask you like what made you come up with that, and then like just have you talk about it because it's really, really fun.
Thank you. It took 4 iterations. And I worked with our friend Megan Dowd for the first one just to figure out what do we even put on this site. And I gave her my word vomit. And then she came back and said, well, what voice are you going for? And this is where 90% of businesses, I hadn't even done the work on mine. And I was like, right. I was totally masking when I wrote that because I wasn't weird enough. So I got what she had. I put it up. Just didn't feel comfortable because it was just general. Here's what we do. Here's why you need us. But it didn't fit the brands that we wanted to work with. We want to be the people that help make the next Liquid Death. Our favorite brand is Ghost. Those weird experiences. Those the companies that get their weirdos together. And so I was trying out at every networking event ways to explain what I do. And I have sat through so many titles and tried. And design is one of those worlds where if you mention anything with design, people go, graphic. And you're like, no. It's like when you say you're an English major and they're like, to teach. And you're like, no, but thank you. It hurts so much. So I realized that was a problem. And then trying to explain what I do, large companies understood what a brand experience was, smaller ones didn't. And it took too long to explain. And I was watching, my therapist told me about this channel called Cinema Therapy where they watch movies and there's a relationship coach on there. And so he analyzes all the 90s rom-coms and which ones were toxic. And it's really cool. And he's like, I do couples therapy. And literally I woke up in the middle of the night and was like, oh my God, we're couples therapy, because it's the work. It's the work no one wants to do. You have to go really deep. My husband was scared to call us that because he's like, but they're not going to want to do the work. I'm like, yeah, but we don't want them to not do the work. So we may as well put it out there, because if you're willing to do it, we might as well put that out front.
Yeah.
So my husband had this vision of using there's a type of writing called agit prompt, agitation to prompt an action. So it's kind of like Soviet. It's like, comrades, let us unite together in this revolution against the machine of anarchy. And he's like, I really like this. What could we start here? So we started with doing that into ChatGPT. Didn't like where it was going. Then we found one of our favorite bands called Royal Republic, and they are irreverent. Was it power disco? I think was some of the labels to explain what they are. And we're like, yes, we want this weird, these guys dressed like all in leather jackets, and it's just this weird disco group. And we're like, okay, let's feed it that. So have it do the agitation prompt, then have it do this irreverent, weird, metaphorical speak, and then throw in the couples therapy. And that's the voice that it then had to go through every single time. And once we read some of what it was making, we knew we had gold. Because it was so funny. I mean, some of the things it put out is like, why do you need us? Because that's a question people have. Why can't my team just do this? And It's like the same reason pandas need dating advice. Because sometimes you're too close to the situation. And if you know that pandas need literally a panda because they don't know how to reproduce. And so it just, once, it took like 5 iterations to get there. And I think most people stop at the one. But you really want a voice that encompasses that brand. And then what I did was I tested it with people. To the next networking event I went to, I started trying it out. Tried the old one and the new one. Divided and conquered with my husband. The only people who didn't understand the new one were older white men. And I was like, that's fine.
That's fine.
not my audience.
They were divorced, so I was like, that's fine. That probably checks out then. So I would say for anybody who's like trying to think of how to do their voice, one would definitely be like, find books that have the voice you like, bands that have the voice you like, feed that into the chat. But then also just test it with people. I think a lot of people don't test, and you get out to a networking event and you feel like this is my only chance. And instead just be like, I have a list of things generally when I go to events of like, I want to test out these things with these. I'm going to talk to as many people as possible, and I want to see what their reactions are. Because with my old way of saying like, I'm a brand experience designer, I help you build a world for your customers. They'd be like, okay. And then when you say couples therapy for brands that have lost their spark with their customer, they look at you, they laugh generally, and then go, oh my God, I know exactly how that feels. I know, I don't understand quite what you do, but I know when people might need your help now.
Yeah.
Well, it's that like analogous thinking, right? You're being introduced to this, because the way that I explain marketing to customers who don't understand, or like clients and customers who don't understand marketing, is find something that they will understand and explain it using that, you know?
Yes.
So there's a lot of car related analogies. There's a lot of sports related analogies. There's kind of like airplanes, anything that's like more easy to grasp, being like, okay, my favorite one is when, you know, everybody's like, I think I just need to advertise. And I was like, okay, that's like bringing 10,000 people to your mall, but they never come into your store so to buy anything. So like, yes, we can do that, but you don't have a traffic problem. You have a conversion problem.
Right.
So,
I had somebody last night, he connected with me on LinkedIn. And I felt like I knew the name. We must have gone to college together. So I was like, fine, whatever, connect. Then he sent me a smiley face, a wave, and a link to his like latest project. And I was like, this is the equivalent of like coming into a party and just like throwing a business card at me and be like, what do you want me to do with this? Hello.
It's like a, what is that called? Is it like a professional dick pic, essentially?
Yes, there you go.
That's what it is.
That's
Here's
what
my
it was.
portfolio.
Unsolicited.
Yeah.
That's incredible. I love that. I feel
know, I
like we
think
need to pull that clip out. Just
Yeah, I think that's how I ended up not responding because I was my husband was like, tell him like, so what am I supposed to do with this? And I was like, I don't want to be that mean, but now I'm going to be like, thank you for the unsolicited business dick pic.
I think you should. I think you should.
It was a mediocre white
I
man
triple
thing to
dog
do.
dare you. Just for our entertainment.
It was a white man thing to do. It's a mediocre
Yeah.
white man thing to do.
Yeah,
I just assumed that's who it was.
that's fair.
That's awesome.
Awesome. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the Feral Book Club, because this is part of one of the many ways that we all know each other. Why do you feel like having a group or a community like this helps people as business owners? Like, and I think what I'm getting at is, well, now we're all in the Commonwealth too, but like, why do you think it's important to have business friends that you talk with other stuff besides business about?
I think for me, up until that point, this will make me sound like such a loser. I really didn't have friends. The pandemic, I had lost most of them, not to death, just to separation. And I think having that network allowed for collaborations that I never anticipated. I think it helps to validate. I think sometimes you can think that you are much smaller or bigger than you are. And by having other people to like, let's share real numbers, let's share real launches, and let's share the workshop that I just led that no one attended, and they're like, I'll be honest and tell you about it because I know there's no judgment here and that I can get the help I need. Again, I think life's too short and you may as well do funny things. Like, I really hadn't read Smut before the club, and I was like, I'm going in with no expectations. I think in that case also you learn a lot about yourself. You learn where your like interest lines are and where you're like, I'm gonna skim the last 100 pages of that because I'm tapping out on this one. What I will say is, business-wise too, I think you can learn a lot. I think when you're with people who run businesses, you can't help but look at everything from a business point of view.
Yeah.
And so when I saw you guys didn't go, we went to the signing for Kiss of the Basilisk.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that woman got her book into the top 10 romantasy. This is Basilisk smut. Okay, this is like the woman with the bear versus the man, and she said, "I do the bear." And the fact that it's in the top 10, I told my husband, like, this woman, like, again, she should be a client because she has gotten all of her weirdos together and they've said, yes, take my money and give me 3 books of this. And they are unapologetic about, this is what I want. And we live in an age where there's a publishing company that's like, all right, this is what the ladies want. Who are we to judge? We will make money from this.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. I'm going to add that to the reading list now.
I haven't read it yet, but it's definitely on my list. I'm very curious.
I haven't. It's on the list. Megan Dowd, it was her first. It is. I looked at the Goodreads review and all of them are like, what did I just
read? Those are the best though, where you like literally can't put it down and you're just like, I just need to know where this goes. Like, I just like, yeah.
Just need to know what happens next. Well, I feel like too, like, since like we've done this book club, like I have been reading so much, and not just smut, like, although I've been consuming copious amounts of smut, I've also been reading other things too. And even with the smutty books, I learned something. I learned something every time. So, I feel like and then how that's impacted me. I've been more creative in my business. I've been writing more. I've been in like such a rut for the last few years because writing became a chore and reading became a chore. And since I've introduced fun back into my life, I've been able to replicate that fun in other ways. And so I think maybe it's not reading, maybe it's something else, but yeah, having something fun and then also doing that fun thing with friends who own their own businesses, I think is just a really magical way to kick that off. So yeah, I love our book club, and I love all the opportunities that have come from it to like just talk about business. So it's been great. Well, we're gonna wrap up with one more question, and this we've decided to introduce this in season 2, and we are making a playlist. So we want to know, what is a song right now that is on repeat or on your frequent playlist? And it can be unhinged. We have some unhinged
Okay,
answers,
good.
so
Yeah. Well, it's on trend, so I can't get enough of the Swedish band Ghost. If you know Ghost, you'll understand why. But if you don't, Ghost is a Swedish metal band, and the front man, the lead singer, basically the songwriter, has created his own world. He has created personas for himself that every few years he comes out with a new one, and they are all satanic popes. And so there's been Papa 1 through Papa 5 that just came out, which means that he gets a new outfit and a new like prosthetics and face and whatever he wants to do. All of his band are the nameless ghouls, so you don't see their face. They all have new costumes now. He has put out short films. He has put out a full-length movie. And so he did a most amazing record announcement that a new album's dropping in April by buying a billboard in Vegas, putting a live stream on it called the Fumiata live stream, which is Latin for smoke, meaning that when the smoke signal will go up, like when you elect a new pope, then you will know that on YouTube there'll be a video announcing the new pope. So everyone was watching this live stream for 2 days of a billboard. And then when it finally, like, the smoke went up, Ash Wednesday morning at midnight, he dropped his newest song called Satanized. He's the most lovely like, Americans have a weird thing with Satanism. He's not. He's the most lovely person. So we put out this whole music video with his new single Satanized, and it's like German expressionist. So it's like back in the silent era, kind of Nosferatu shot. But I love that this man can make such a world that all of his marketing is from the clergy. Message from the clergy to let you know, for the parishioners to know that like the new Ghost album will be dropping April, sometime in April. But that one's been on because it just dropped yesterday, or Ash Wednesday. So
there you go. 2 days ago. But yeah.
That's really fun.
I know people get weirded out, but it's like this man just knows how to build a world.
Yeah.
And Mexico is obviously like their biggest fan base is like in Central America. They love this man.
That's hilarious.
It's really fun.
It's so Catholic.
I love it.
Well, that's so awesome. I feel like that's like such an important, like knowing, like you said, knowing your like consumer and knowing what the hell is going to get them like going.
I loved most of the comments were like, we make fun of the Swifties and yet we just watched a billboard for 2 days.
Right. Rabid fandom in another way.
Exactly. Exactly. I'm sure there's also some intersection too. Like that's when you know you have like a big musical taste of like Swiftie and then that.
Yeah.
That's great. Awesome. Well, listen, we had the best conversation with you today. And before we wrap up, I just want to ask you, is there anything we didn't cover that you want to make sure we cover? And yeah, is there anything you want to tell our audience?
Yeah, so May 2nd, I will be launching or be starting Design Jam. And so Design Jam is just this little kind of incubator for 4 people to go through with myself and my business partner. And it's for people who are feeling stuck on a business idea. You're kind of been in your little echo chamber with all of your own ideas for too long. We just bring in other people who are also in the same spot, help you kind of figure out the actual shape of your problem, and then ideate and evaluate some of those ideas so that you can have momentum moving forward.
Love that.
I have gone through it. It is really helpful to give you, and then of course I did nothing yet, but not because of that. I also just took it at a wrong time in my life, but it was very helpful to be able to like ideate, iterate, get some feedback, and make a decision of how to move forward as well.
I love that. Well, thank you so much, Megan, for chatting with us today. And I'm sure we'll have you on again at some point. We've already had Mary on a couple times. We had Dusty on recently. So yeah, thank you so much for chatting with us today. And for our listeners, make sure you check out the show notes and you can find all of Megan's links in there. And yeah, thank you so much. It was a great conversation. And if you have any questions or guests that you want us to chat with, feel free to shoot us a DM and we'll see you next time. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Take the Leap podcast. We hope you found useful takeaways you can apply to your entrepreneurial journey. Subscribe so you don't miss future episodes, and keep in touch and follow us on Instagram. If you have business questions, shoot us a direct message or leave us a comment. We'll try to cover it in an upcoming episode. And visit our website, taketheleap-today.com for more resources like our online course that accompanies this podcast.